Peterborough Museum, just had a walk around. It's absolutely fantastic.
Just arrived at Peterborough Museum, arrived a bit earlier than I normally do for shoots, which gives me time to set up some additional equipment. As a place, absolutely fantastic. Some great artefacts, some great potential for trigger objects, and a bunch of swords and things that we can use to test the mediums.
Interesting when we do museums, because of course there's loads and loads and loads of what Kieran would call visual clues, but none of them need apply to the building. And what I'm interested in is the building, not at this stage anyway, the artefacts lying around. So I'm looking forward to seeing what a museum can hold, and I guess uncovering possibly what it used to be used for.
It seems a very nice place. Obviously there's going to be a lot of history here. Richard Felix is very excited. He's had a walk round with the guy that runs it here.
This is so different. It's so far away from your stately homes and your old 16th century pubs and it's just fantastic. But the amazing thing is that it's got so many ghosts in it.
I recce'd this place a couple of months ago, and since then they've had so many sightings of ghosts and so many things go on inside this building that I think we'll be really, really unlucky not to get anything tonight.
From 1857, this was Peterborough Infirmary. Now come on, how many people die in hospitals? I mean, I have so many stories of people, nurses, that tell me that they often know when a person's going to die because someone else has actually come to fetch them.
We're doing a better pieces to camera, so it gives me an opportunity to see the rooms and what's, the history of the place and what's meant to have gone on in here.
Well, we've done this one, and I like to put big crosses through the pieces to camera that we've done. And now we're about to do what used to be the old operating theatre. It was interesting because I know the stories until I get here and read the script, and some of the stories are really interesting here. And some of the activities up to present day, so it's quite good. The doors banging last reported in January 2005.
A place like this is full of ghosts, and it's got everything you can imagine. It's got poltergeists, it's got dark ladies, it's got grey ladies, it's got a dark figure of a man, it's got a soldier that haunts the staircase and various other places.
I'm interested, especially in the cellar downstairs. I think that's going to be something. I had a look at that, and that looks pretty promising. So I hope you enjoy the show, and I hope it's going to be an interesting night.
The museum staff were also on hand to explain just why this part of Peterborough attracts so much activity.
We have all sorts of things that have been reported here at the museum at one time or another. There have been apparitions seen around the building, a grey figure on the staircase where we are at the moment. There has been a white lady seen on the top floor. People have picked up things associated with objects in the museum's collections. Footsteps around the building, slamming doors, cold spots. People were sort of feeling hands on them, or people brushing past them, even people pushed to the floor by invisible presences. So we have quite an interesting array of activity here at the museum. I think there are a number of reasons why the museum has a ghostly reputation. Obviously the building's very old in itself, and there's been occupation on this site for a very long time, and also it's had a number of uses. As well as being a museum, the building has been a private house. It's also been the city's hospital. So if you imagine the number of people who've passed through these doors at one time or another and even died on this site, plus of course all the objects in the museum's collection, it's not surprising there should be ghosts here.
The building's 3 floors of historical artefacts offered David Wells the perfect opportunity to perform some psychometry. And in the presence of Kieran, museum curator Stuart presented the psychic with one of its prize exhibits.
The trouble with it is the images you get from something like this, you are going to get obviously a bit of bloodshed and all this. That's and I try to get past that usually when I do this kind of work. Roman, so I'm seeing Roman tunics. You'd have the shield in your left arm, wouldn't you? So you would have this in your right. You would have a sword in your right arm, and it's like I've got the shield here, and I'm actually beating the shield or the sword. So that to me is symbolising that it has been used. It's not being found in a forge, or it's not. It's an actual sword. Ask me some questions, because that sometimes helps.
Well, maybe in terms of the origin of it, because there were legions that came from all over
Right.
Europe-based.
So basically where it was made, if you like.
It's more about the man who owned the sword.
Okay.
We know that legions came from all over Europe, and they were often recruited in particular countries.
Right.
And we know where the one that was based in Peterborough actually came from.
Okay. When you're talking, the first image I get is France. But like I said, it could have been through France. It doesn't. But it's the first thing that came to my mind. The man who owned it, doesn't seem like a common foot soldier. He seems more like, again, nothing huge, but a commander of sorts, but nothing massive. So he may have controlled. I don't know how again they were structured, but it's almost like if I was going up in ranks, there would be a smaller group, then a bit like our army. There's divisions, and then you have battalions and all the rest of it. He would have been. The number they give me is 3. I don't know what that is. So 3 up. So that if there's a legion, then a something, and then a something, he would have been so fairly senior, but not majorly senior.
Would you associate any paranormal activity with this?
The only thing that, when you were talking, that came in my head was my guide saying he returns to claim it on numerous occasions. So he returns to claim it. I think he's also saying that if you were to move this around a lot, then if you were physically to move it around a lot, to change its locations, that would cause phenomena because he'd look for it.
It's a cavalry sword, so it's just used by somebody from horseback. There's an infantry, supposed to be a Roman infantry sword, which is shorter than that. It's found locally. The legion in question that was based locally was the 9th Legion. They were recruited largely from Spain. They were nicknamed the Hispania. But interestingly, there has been phenomena reported with that.
And I guess if you move it, he doesn't know where it is. It's almost like he needs to know where it is.
Yeah, I mean, the last time we had something reported, interestingly, was just after it was installed in a temporary exhibition here last year.
Right.
So it was just after it had been moved.
It's moved. It's interesting.
The 2 walk-arounds with both the mediums were actually very similar. They both came up with very, very similar information.
Thomas. Is that, you've given me that sounds Thomas?
What year did he die?
Oh, what year did he pass? It looks like 19 and it looks like 16. Thomas Hunter. Sergeant Thomas Hunter.
I've got a male and a female. But they're disassociated. They don't know. Earthly, they don't know each other. And he's more recent. He's early 1900s. He is now presenting with puttees. When I see puttees, they're knee to ankle bandages. It's World War II. Don't need to see anything. Sorry, World War I is puttees.
Have you managed to get a name at all with the man on the stairs?
Yes, I have. I got the name Thomas.
Just been on a walk around with David, and this time I wasn't amazed by what he did find. I was amazed by what he didn't find. There was a room we'd been in earlier with one of the guys from the museum, and he said, no point even coming in here, nothing ever happens, there's nothing ever recorded happening in this room. We went in there with David, and he said, there's nothing here. It's amazing.
This feels like a vacuum. In other words, completely empty. It feels crystal clear to me, completely crystal clear.
Well, one of the reasons why we brought you into this room is that basically, and I think Kieran can back me up on this, there have been no sightings whatsoever in this room at all, ever.
Doesn't surprise me.
It's essentially a control room, just to see if you would actually pick anything up.
Right.
So we tricked you.
That's nice.
But you passed.
Thanks.
So
Oh, well,
that's
passed,
good.
that's all right.
So it's good. So tonight, we know not to come in this room whatsoever.
Definitely not.
Okay.
No, unless it's for sleep.
Well, we might just creep in here later on
Yeah,
and a quick
absolutely.
40 winks.
David has had a walk round just to get the feel of the place. When he sat down and I started to do his makeup, he began to sweat a lot, which always gives me that idea that there's something here, or it's very haunted. I sat down with him and I said, so what do you think? He said, it's very haunted. He said, particularly in the cellar. He said, while he was down there walking around with Carl, he said he saw a shadow of a man go like this. And he said it frightened him. So I know that the girls usually end up in the cellar. That terrifies me to think that there's something really, really scary down there.
We're not hearing the groanings now, though. We heard groaning before.
Hello, is anybody here?
The museum's curator was keen to help out on our investigation, and here he is with David, Richard, both Johns and myself along the upper floors.
Do you want to call out, David?
Yep. If there's anyone here, any astral beings in this room, could you please make your presence known, make a sound? At my head, the left-hand side, down the left-hand side here, the whole left-hand side of my body is burning. It's on fire, it feels red hot.
Is that a sign?
Yeah, it's either a sign of a strong presence just on my left here, or usually if I burn like that, it's a sign of a fire. It can be a sign of a fire. Someone caught in a fire.
Is the burning sensation gone?
No, it's all down my left-hand side. What I'm sensing now here is a male, and he seems to be disfigured because of it, and it's really concentrating down one side of our face, so it does seem perhaps to have been disfigured by fire.
Should we move on? Or do you want to stay here a bit more?
No, I think move on. To me, he's a very big man, and he's almost like I can feel him really strongly here, but he's standing very still, and he's just fidgeting with his feet a bit, nothing much, just standing there.
Just all the hairs have gone up on the back of my neck walking.
Yeah, that's the feeling I get.
It just feels like, ugh. Oh, really? I don't know why. It's the first time I've ever felt that coming in here.
It's because you just walked through one of them, that's why.
What?
It's because you walked through one of them. What you're describing is how I feel, that's how I know they're around.
I've just seen something.
Have you? No.
Well, yeah. It by that window, it was either on the other side, but something like a black shadow or something just flitted across that window.
Should we ask out? Because I feel a lot of activity in here, I have to say. I feel certainly a child and a woman.
Okay.
A girl and a woman. If there's anyone here, any astrals present, please make yourself known to us. Move something in this room.
I get the feeling you're a little bit shy. I don't know if
My
that's
right hand's gone very, very cold.
Has it?
Just my hand.
It's almost like she's holding your hand.
She's holding it.
I've been standing thinking, holding my hand out like,
Yeah.
for someone to hold it, and just thinking, just come on, hold my hand. And it's ice cold.
The name I'm getting, it sounds like a Jeanette or a Janet. I've got two names, Janet. I don't know how it's pronounced because I can see it on this occasion, can't hear it. And Margaret, two names I've got.
It's interesting, people have picked up the name Margaret before.
Oh, have they?
I can't tell though if it's the child or the adult. I've got the two names and I can't tell which is which.
Not every vigil can make it into our main programme, so here's Derek, Kieran and Richard in the same area that we have just left.
Do you want to move across the corridor?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
I don't know how you can see
Yeah.
where you're going.
Yeah. I don't like it here.
No.
I mean, I say I don't like it, but basically it's dark, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And people have said, oh, things happen here. But,
I don't know, since we come into this area, it's totally different to all the others. I'm feeling as if I'm, as if I'm warming up, as if I'm very warm here. The opposite to cold.
I'm just getting your temperature, Derek.
Yeah. I feel very warm.
Right.
Indeed, especially around the face.
If you close your eyes a second, can you close your eyes? Yeah, there's like a 4-degree rise.
Funnily enough, David said David got one side of his face really hot, and he said he sensed fire.
Just my face just seems so warm. Is there any spirit person here present that wants to make some form of contact with us?
There's one last room we can go into on this floor. If you want to do that for the last 5 minutes. Hold on a sec. I thought I heard something down there on the left-hand side of the room.
Can I just tell you, when you turn on next, its shadow went right across the back there. Right there, but high.
Just done a glass divination thing with Yvette and Joe, and it was absolutely fascinating. It was really one of the most interesting ones we've had in a very long time.
We got hold of Thomas. We also got hold of George, who was a soldier with Thomas and had his face was burnt, and was also spent time in hospital with Thomas, which was really interesting.
Do you want to return to the land of your birth? Do you want...
Yeah.
Thomas, do you mean to return your body to the place in England you were born?
That's interesting.
Thomas, if you wish to return to this place of your birth, is this because of the involvement of a woman? Is this because you want to be closer to a woman? Do you want to be closer to your mother? Is it your mother,
David, is he right in my face here, right in front of the camera?
He's in that space. I don't think he's right in your face.
Well, it's just that my face isn't cold, but my hands are.
Right. But that, I mean, his auric field would push out a bit anyway, so you wouldn't necessarily feel... Do you know what I mean? You feel cold near him. George, were you burnt? Is that what I was sensing? Were you a pilot in the war? Were you a soldier in the war? Was it World War I? Do you know Thomas? Is that why you visit here? Are you a colleague of Thomas?
On the second person we spoke to, who we think was called George, it went backwards, forwards, in that kind of sharp movement. So the point I'm trying to make here is, can you tell the personality of who's trying to communicate with you via the glass divination system? If you can pick up on personality, can you therefore, does that kick things off and you begin to pick up on parts of their life that you can then confirm using the glass?
My vigil in the cellar with Stuart and Rachel was horrible. As soon as we walked down there, within seconds I heard a groan, and it was such a scary groan, a male groan. Instantly made me feel uneasy in the cellar.
We're hearing groaning, things being thrown at us, so we're a bit freaked out, so we decide that we'll investigate one last room and we'll leave. And as we go into this room, there's a door, and the door just comes towards the three of us.
Get out! 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 Get out. Get out. 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 Out of here. Just stay. Don't be screaming out of here because you might cause problems.
Sorry, I screamed.
It's all right.
Sorry, that door moved.
Let's get away from here. Come on. I was stood at the step of that door. The girls can verify. The footage itself can verify. I didn't touch that door at all because I'd have actually physically had to have stepped forward, leant in and pulled the door, which you would have seen on camera. That wasn't the case. Now, who or what moved that door, I'll never know.
I just couldn't believe it. I just can't. It was unreal. It was just to go in there, hear the sounds, and then to have that door push at us was just horrible.
It's now up to you, the viewers back home, to make your own mind up and come up with your own conclusions about what really went on in the cellar.
On the whole, for me, it's been quite a quiet night, but I know for some other people, it's been really, really frightening.
I've looked at the footage of Stuart and the girls. They are clearly frightened. I mean, they are so frightened down there. It's kind of funny that it's funny in hindsight because they're all safe and they're all happy and they're all fine. So you sometimes wonder, you sort of, you panic at times because you think, what happens if one day it's not fine? What happens if the door does shut on somebody's hand? What happens if someone's that scared that they have serious problems?
I know other guys haven't had such great experiences on their vigils, but I think we've had, I think we've had something paranormal happening to us. I want to go home to bed now because I'm scared.
I mean, Stuart must be one of the bravest men in the world. I mean, he's got, he's had so much happen to him, that boy, and he still keeps on going. And I always find it a privilege to go on any investigation with him. As with the rest of the crew, I think they're the bravest bunch of people in the world.
Get out! Out! Out!